The Republican establishment, when Trump announced, said, passing fancy. Some people called him a carnival barker. They said, this won't last. This will flame out. He's a joke. Now, he's leading in the polls nationally. He's second in New Hampshire. He's second in Iowa. He's picking up support across the country, and he's become an impact player as we near the first debate. What do you make of the fact that the establishment, with Mel Martinez's help, a former senator, former RNC chairman, a prominent Latino from the swing state of Florida, comes out this morning and says, Mr. Trump, promise that you're a Republican. Promise that no matter what, you will support the Republican nominee, meaning you won't break away if you lose and mount a third-party run.
But here's the other thing. Even if he says that, does he have to stick with it? Of course not. So, yeah, they're afraid because Donald Trump would pull votes from whoever the Republican nominee is. They're looking at Ross Perot, that race, as a model, and they probably should be scared.
But is it a risk, Juana, if they, he'll give Mel Martinez's phone number out before we know it. But if you push him too hard, and he loses the Republican nomination, and he does. If you look at the Washington Post ABC poll just yesterday, now it's July, who knows what would change between now and November, but he disproportionately does draw from Republicans. He would almost guarantee a Democratic, likely Hillary Clinton presidency as a third-party candidate.
I think that's something that a lot of Republicans are really worried about, and you can see that in the rhetoric they're using when they talk about Trump. Those who aren't outright disparaging his comments and his candidacy with full force are kind of tiptoeing around saying, he's doing his own thing. They're not really going out and forcefully attacking him because they want to be really careful and make sure they're not handing Democrats this presidency. The one thing we should keep in mind, though, is that Donald Trump's biggest enemy in this is Donald Trump. He has very limited organization, very little professional political experience. He's obviously a great brand, a great marketer, as one Republican put it recently, but he doesn't really have the political infrastructure that many of these other candidates do. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates a very unwieldy primary process to come. I think you have to be more than just a TV star to get through that, and I think that's what many Republicans at least have told me they're banking on, that he'll be his own worst enemy.
Well, they're crossing their fingers.
Exactly.
To a degree, if you apply the standard rules, and I think one of the big questions is, do the standard rules apply to Donald Trump? Look, he insulted, Mexican immigrants. He has now insulted John McCain, and you could say, by default, POWs and veterans. And yet, at least for now, we'll watch the polls in the week or so, see if there's a change. At least for now, he's still sustaining. What is more damaging when a Republican decides I have to start spending money against him, meaning a super PAC launches ads against Donald Trump? What's more damaging, insulting Mexican immigrants, insulting John McCain, or this, Donald Trump's own past where he says, you know what, I think I might be more of a Democrat?
You identify more as a Democrat or a Republican?
Well, you'd be shocked if I said that in many cases I probably identify more as a Democrat. And I think you'd probably be shocked.
On social issues?
It's interesting. I've been now around long. I think of myself as a young guy, but I'm not so young anymore. And I've been around for a long time. And it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
That's nobody twisting his words. He said it twice. The economy does better under the Democrats. How do you sell that to a Republican primary electorate?
You don't. And when you talk to particularly establishment Republicans who are, heads are kind of exploding because of this Trump bump right now, they say the voters just don't know who this guy is. They're just listening to his words. They're not looking at his record. Right. But you bet if he keeps rising, they're going to know his record soon enough.
We went back through our archives. He also says some nice things about Hillary Clinton during her time as Secretary of State. He says she's a tough negotiator. That can't help in, say, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina with Republicans.
Absolutely not. And if you're Donald Trump right now, you have to be banking on the fact that, unlike the three of us, most people haven't been following Donald Trump as a politician for the last decade or so. They've seen him as an entertainer, as a businessman, as the guy who yells "you're fired" on TV. But they don't have this long history. But like you've noted earlier, it's also July. It's really, really early. So how much people start to bring those things up and opposition research starts to bring those facts out and more clips like that out will be really interesting, and whether or not voters actually care about what he said 10 years ago.
Does it matter? Do the way we apply the rules of politics apply to this unorthodox candidate? It's one of the fascinating questions.